Well, everybody's heard about the bird. Bird's a winner, well, a bird.
Grown men watch this shit?
A podcast about indie wrestling.
Bird is a winner, well, a bird. Well, a bird is a winner, well, a bird. The bird's a winner, well, a bird. Well, a bird is a winner, well, a bird. The bird's a winner, well, a bird.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the studio apartment of...
Grown men watch this shit.
Yes, we do. And today, jacking the intro bit of Colt Cabana. I probably could have done a better one if I had have actually checked what the thing was. Could have done a bit better of a lead-in, but if nothing else, we got the studio apartment.
Yeah, and I actually record my particular portion of the program from my studio closet. Actually, I have a little walk-in closet that I record in. So every time I go to do the show, yes, I am in the closet.
Look at that, a little peek behind the
closet, so to speak.
Yeah, peek into the closet. I'm not recording a show in a studio apartment, though I normally would be. I don't know if it's an apartment, it's a townhouse. But on this occasion, I am recording it live from Melbourne, Australia, from my nan's house. Yeah.
Oh, that's delightful.
Yeah, I'm visiting Nan. I'm staying here. I've been working through the week from my satellite workplace of Nan's house. And this is actually great. Guess where she is right now?
Where's Nan at right now?
She is literally off playing bingo.
That is fantastic. I didn't know bingo was such an internationally accepted old people experience.
Yeah, it is. And she tells me all of the stories about the bingo and like the different characters and it's great. I love it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've heard bingo can get pretty aggressive. Actually, there's like, I think it was it a Jackass bit or somebody where they went into the game and they kept on shouting bingo. Oh, no. All right, so there's a show called Impractical Jokers. And this guy had to go in, his name's Sal Volcano, and when he didn't actually have a bingo, he was supposed to say bingo just to piss everybody off and keep doing it over and over.
Oh, you'd get murdered.
Oh, yeah, everyone hated the guy. But when I was a kid, it reminded me when I was a kid, we actually kind of used to do the same thing. We, at the state fair, they'd have a big-ass booth where there'd be tables and tables of a bunch of people playing bingo. And as kids, we just walk by and run through the place or walk by the place and yelling bingo so they'd have to stop the game like
you little shits.
Yeah, I know, dude. We were total jerks. Bingo! It's like, who the fuck is saying that?
That's great. You ever actually played yourself?
Yeah, actually, I have. Not like a ton, but yeah, definitely. You know, I'm like fascinated by the dabbers the whole time. Like, I just want to do art with them. When I'm holding my hand, I just want to paint with this thing.
Awesome. Yeah, I've done it once when Courtney's roller derby team had like a fundraising Nanna Bingo night. So everyone like dressed up like old people. It was pretty great. But then there were like some real old people that came along because I guess just anytime bingo takes place anywhere, they're going to be there.
They walk to a flame.
Yeah. So there was like a mix of people dressed like old people and old people. And their bingo was... It was kind of like a piss take. Like the funny thing was Courtney got real drunk and she was the MC and she was just drawing out the numbers so much. She was like, this brings me to a story of my second husband, Phil. And, and you had a mix of people like me who were just enjoying the shit out of this and just like laughing and clapping and like my friends and that. And then other people there that were just like visibly like, just get to the fucking numbers.
Yeah, we're here for the fucking bingo, not your comedy.
Oh, that was a good night. That was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, we may get a run in from Nan in the show when she gets home from her bingo. I don't think it's quite time for Bold and the Beautiful yet. I think it may be Dr. Phil will be on, but we'll see. We'll see how we go.
The Bald and the Beautiful.
Yeah. So it's been a little bit of a while since our last show because we had like and that was like my bad because I had internet problems and just this, that, and the other. Then this trip down to Melbourne, I thought I was going to be able to do it last Thursday, but that was my transit day. So I think it was just being way too optimistic with time. Like, you know, when you kind of do that, I don't know, there's something I do all the time. I'm like, I can fit all of the things in a day.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and then I get here and it's like, I haven't even got the internet thing set up. I haven't got like the podcast recording studio set up ready to go on my satellite computer. Like, it was just too many things that needed to happen. But alas, we are here now. So
Yes, indeed. We had a very accommodating standby guest over the last couple of weeks, RJ City, waiting. Either A, technical glitches happened, we got it fixed, and then we let him know we were good to go, and he actually had already taken off for the evening. And boop, 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 boop. He couldn't record with us yesterday because he's actually out in LA hanging out with one David Arquette. So we will get RJ on the show. I really, really looking forward to it. He is definitely down. And yeah, we'll just make shit happen. That's how it happens in podcasts, man. Schedules, technical glitches, that shit just happens.
It does. And we've had other guests that were like totally down to do the show, and then just schedules have prevented things from happening. People don't think about this. Like, just trying to organize Seattle time zone with an Australian time zone, then trying to get someone on the East Coast who has like a family and shit, like, that's difficult.
Yeah. I'll stop selling the guests ahead of time. That way nobody knows. Yeah. Oh, we're so excited about this guest who did not end up on the show. But yeah, there's a strong chance, but not a guaranteed, that RJ City may or may not be on the show. Perhaps. Or mayhaps.
Isn't that appropriate for our show, though? Like, you know, there's a chance it could happen.
yeah. He's agreed. We touched hands about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's been a minute. I expect we're gonna maybe do one of Josh's favorite bits, the old news.
Old news. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to say, like, this episode. Normally, I don't know whether people get the impression that we do not do much preparation for our show, but you would be shocked. Most of the time, we're watching shit. We're like sending messages back and forth. Let's maybe get this watched for the show, then we can talk about it. You know, there's preparation that is involved.
Yeah.
This episode, ladies and gentlemen, fucking none. This is the most.
We watched some Joshi shit last time. Didn't talk about it. I think we watched a deathmatch show. We didn't end up talking about it. Maybe we watched Uncharted. I don't think we ended up talking about it. So yeah, we watch a ton of wrestling to talk about on this show.
Yeah.
But yeah, things happen again.
Yeah.
We have a lot of shit to talk about. Like, hey man, everyone, check out my new dog, Bronx, up in the house. He's fucking awesome. This is the first show I actually trying to record with him around. So I'm like, hey, roommates, you want to distract this little adorable dog? And you know what? For some reason, people want to hang out with little adorable dogs. They don't mind.
He is an adorable dog. Adorable.
Yes.
I love every picture that I see of him. And Courtney said she's got a gimmick going where every time you post a picture, she just does cry face because he's so fucking beautiful. And she said she's going to continue this gimmick for the foreseeable future, just forever, I think.
That sounds good.
She's like, do you think Jeremy appreciates it, or it's just annoying?
Yeah.
I was like,
no, man,
I
I
know.
would post a picture of my dog if I didn't expect some of that shit.
Yeah.
Actually, I was worried I would get annoyed, and people were like, no, please, post pictures of your adorable dog. We are totally fine with it. I'm like, all right, cool.
Oh, on the note of run-ins, I just got a message from my phone. I was tentatively messaged cousin Ben to see if he could perhaps do a bit of a run-in, because we went to a couple of International Assault World Series wrestling shows over last weekend in Melbourne, and I thought it might be good to get his thoughts. I don't know whether this is just going to be him messaging me saying, no, I can't do that, but let me find out.
All right.
Give me a moment.
Yes, indeed. What we got going on over here? All right, so this is the gimmick. Got some Nintendo games in front of me. Gonna list off a couple of quality games. Old school NES games, friends. I don't fuck around. I'm old school. I got the classic Mario Brothers with World Track Meet and Duck Hunt. Yeah, 3-in-1 game, bitches. Now this game I never really played much because I remember not being very good. Target Renegade. Anybody remember? Did you play that game, Chris? NES game, Target Renegade? Are you still talking to Ben?
Which game is that?
Okay, he's back. Target Renegade.
I have not heard of this.
And then this is one of my favorites, and I'm sure you did play this one. WrestleMania Steel Cage Challenge.
Oh, yes. Those 90s WWF games were the best, like the arcade ones.
Oh, this was an 80s, brother. 80s.
Oh, shit.
NES.
Dang.
Anyway, so what's the word with Benjamin?
It was not a message from Benjamin. Still persona non grata from Ben, but message from Courtney letting me know that something new has replaced the shitty steakhouse that used to be near our house called Hog's Breath. So, yeah, not all that
So
relevant.
what does Hog's Breath become?
That's what we're still trying to find out. We're still trying to wait and see. I'll let you know as soon as I'm filled in. Oh, hi, Nan. Nan's home for bingo, everybody.
All right, hopefully she won.
Yeah.
She comes in all pissed off, throwing her bingo daubers on the ground like, Christopher, I lost all the games. It fucking sucked.
Oh, hang on, just a sec. Let me do a thing here. All right, there we go. No, we just had some bits of audio that normally would go over the top of us speaking. So I thought the idea of old us talking over new us would be quite annoying to people's ears. So I paused the recording, deleted those bits, and then now we're back. So these are the things I do for you people.
That's fucking All right, let's talk about some wrestling. What do you want to chat about first, buddy?
Well, in our first segment of old news, we really need to get like a sweet some sort of audio intro to that. I think that has potential. But one thing I wanted to talk about, there was a big issue this is a couple of weeks ago, starting with our good buddy Hollywood Josh. And the ROH show, and him getting a little bit mouthy with the girls, but by the sounds of it, nothing outside of the realm of what wrestling fans do, giving shit to the heels. And Velvet Sky and Mandy Leone got a bit angry at him.
They took exception.
Got a bit pissy. Yeah. And then, safe to say, Miss Velvet Sky went and toddled off to her boyfriend, her man, Bully Ray, and then there's different perspectives of all of the.
Well, I think we might want to even go back just a little bit further to start how it all began in the first place. So, to people who may not know how or what occurred, actually, it was an event that took place between a close, I wouldn't say a close friend, but a personal friend of mine, Josh, who's super friendly, friend of Chris's.
I know Josh. Josh is awesome. Josh got me my first ever PWG ticket when, Bowler sells out so fast. I fucked it up. I only got tickets to one night. And Josh was the fucking man and got me my ticket.
Yes.
And
a friend to the industry.
Yep.
Always never a bad word to say typically about him, I guess until recently. But so there's a 2-night event in the Pacific Northwest for ROH. One up here that I attended, actually. Wasn't sitting terribly far away from Josh. And then the second event down in Portland. So Josh was at both shows, and at both shows was doing some jawing with the girls. The thing he said, now he might have left out some of the other things, but the thing he said that I felt was probably what people could take as offensive was he called them the Tramp Stamp Trio.
Really? I did not find that part offensive whatsoever.
That
was nothing.
I personally don't think it's anything either, but I could see why that statement would piss people off because it implies that they're tramps, but it really is not calling them tramp. It's a remark about their
shitty choice in tattoos.
Yeah, it's a colloquialism for that particular type of tattoo that got associated with, like, say, hookers or girls who people perceive maybe has a bit loose morals, but that's not necessarily the reality of the matter of what we're saying when we call that tattoo.
I think you're getting caught up on the tramp stamp bit. To me, that was nothing.
Hang on, let me explain.
Yeah.
That's where people got mad at him.
I don't think so. I don't think that was the part people got annoyed at. I think the bit that people got annoyed at, and the part where I could see an honest bone of contention, at least on Bully Ray's part, was where he said, again, we're just going off of what Josh posted.
No, the girl said they were sexually harassing him. And
No,
degrading
but that's
him,
what I'm about to say. That's what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
So, and Josh wrote, all of this on Twitter. So we're just going on his feedback. We're trying not to put anything in his mouth. But Josh said a line
she
about
mentioned how he was a virgin. Okay, we need to have the whole timeline. So she calls him a virgin, and then he says at least he's not fucking a fat fuck like Bully Ray or something to that extent. And that's when she got pissed off. He got pie faced. He got spit
and
on
that
by
part is the only part that I could see as being like this sort of like, talking about sexual stuff and saying about
I
who
brought up the
she's having.
tramp stamp part because they said he said things worse than that. And that
was the part that I thought was worse than it. Like, to me, if you're talking about, who people are having sex with or whatever.
We're talking about other things that haven't been mentioned. Like, they're saying there's things that haven't, like that Josh additionally said outside of the tramp stamp remark, which he mentioned, and outside of the dating Bully Ray thing that they both mentioned. Like
I think if he said dating Bully Ray instead of the...
Well, you know what I mean? That's when people are dating, they're fucking. Like, that's the implication. Who cares? Like, right? Like, you're dating not somebody, you're fucking them, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's the part. And I'm honestly behind Josh in this whole thing. But, like, and I'm in no way behind Velvet and Mandy and like, spitting on him and stuff like that. That's ridiculous.
If those are the two things that were said, because that's what has come out, if there's nothing worse, it's a gross overreaction on their part. Well, but they've implied that he said even worse things, which he says he didn't say anything worse. And
I mean, self-acknowledgingly, he did say he swore. And if it's a TV taping, you can't be having people swearing on camera.
Yeah, and then a buddy I know, a friend of mine named Hero, who was working ring crew, he was like the head of the ring crew at the event, said that Josh was obnoxious and kept talking the entire night, like trying to get involved, which sometimes wrestling fans do that, especially if you're in the first row, man. You're going to pay to like jaw at the wrestlers when they're walking by.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with that. And that's sort of the greater point that I wanted to talk about too. Like, it's become more than just this. It's become this like thing of policing wrestling fans. But, like, in and of itself, I did kind of, like, I get Bully's perspective. Like, if you have, your girl's a worker, she's on the show, she comes up to you saying, this guy's, like, saying weird sexual stuff about us, and he's disrupting the show and trying to get himself over, you'd be like, yeah, all right, we should probably kick him out. Actually, before we kick him out, bring him over, have a word with him, see if we can get him to cut it out so we don't have to kick him out of the show, right? Like, that's how I perceived it, and in that way, I think there's nothing wrong with Bully having that perception. Now, is it just a perception that Josh thought Bully was doing it to, like, bully him and intimidate him and that? Like, I don't know.
Come on, he definitely was. The guy he was brought backstage by different people, left alone. Then all of a sudden, Bully Ray comes in the room in gimmick, wearing all his shit, and tells him to fucking... Even if he was, like, calm... Come on, like I would be fucking. I'm a big guy, and Bully
But to
Ray
me, it's like your options at that point are either sight unseen, have security kick him out of the show, or you have a word with him. Like it's one of the two things. And I'm pretty sure Josh would admit to himself he would have much preferred what went down than if security had to just kick him out.
But it definitely shouldn't have been the performer, especially the.
But he's not a performer. Like in theory, he's talking to him under the guise of him running the show and his backstage responsibilities.
But he's not security. It's not his responsibility to talk to a fan. That's why ROH got pissed off.
Yeah, and that's the weird side of it. But I'm just looking at it from Bully's perspective in a way. Like I can understand that, especially like from a worker's perspective as well.
Why would you put yourself in that position to even cause drama as him? Like it's clearly his girlfriend. There's a personal connection. Yeah, it's more than just business.
And that's where it gets messy.
Yeah.
And
if Josh was degrading these ladies, like the reason I brought up the tramp stamp thing is because nowadays you and I don't think that's a big deal, but the vernacular of tramp is taken differently by other people. Like people can blow that up thinking that's sexual harassment and literally.
I know some people on Twitter would definitely blow that up.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and then because of that, they hear that one statement, they assume, well, if that's one thing he said, there's probably a lot of other shit he said because the girls implied he did. And Josh got painted as this fucking piece of shit. And you and I both know this guy is a fucking great dude. I couldn't stand to see it because he's like such a great guy.
Yeah, and it's almost like you look back at it compared to like PWG, Josh. And at PWG, like Josh would have bits like that with the heels, where he'd like yell something at them, and then they'd like continue this thing back, and it'd be a fun thing. And sometimes they'd even like do like spots his way. Like I've seen that as well. Where some of the guys will like throw someone onto him or whatever.
Yeah.
And you just have fun with it. But yeah, we're getting into this weird time of like wrestling promotions feeling the need to control fans and to police fans. This continued on with the Impact thing at the ECW arena. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, that guy who fucking got into Taya's face.
I think Taya is as much to blame as him, honestly. Do you see? She knocked the beer out of his hand.
She could have walked away.
She should have.
Escalated. Yeah.
Like, to me, that's her bad. And if I was, like, running that show, I would be pissed off at her, and I would, like, cut a promo on her, because you do not do that to a fan.
Like,
that being said, him, like spitting at her after was screwed up as well.
Like, a heel throwing a beer on somebody, or, like, taking a drink of somebody's beer and spitting in their face, that's, like, been a part of wrestling. That happens. Like,
yeah.
A heel could do that, but if you're a baby face and fucking guys yelling at you, definitely shouldn't be grabbing his shit and throwing it in his face.
Yeah,
I know that's a weird distinction to make, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but yeah, it's your job to de-escalate the situation. If someone's like being a mark for himself and trying to get himself over and whatever, you don't give those fans the attention, And
dude, I was trying to get myself over at a show and did a stupid chant, and it was great because I got shut down immediately by Ricochet. He just told me to shut up because it was a quiet part of the show. He just turned over to shut up. I immediately clammed up. I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just get to tell a guy to shut up. Fucking A, man. Like, exactly. I bet if it wasn't, if one of the security guards had came over to Josh to tell him to shut up and not, like, the actual wrestlers where it almost felt like, a wrestling interaction. These heels are coming up to yell at me. I'm going to yell back. If somebody else had, like, come up and said, hey, dude, chill the fuck out before he was escorted backstage, this whole thing would have turned out totally differently.
And I think they know that. They've learned their lesson, and they've sent out a release. Like, they had sort of the initial one where it's like, we're looking into it. Then there was a follow-up one where it's like, look.
Kind of bullshit.
Well, I think it was good. Like, what more would you do than that? If I was in their shoes, I think
Josh
they treated it perfectly.
ROH didn't even contact Josh to talk to him about it. That's like, how are they handling it? How are they doing the investigation fully if they're not even talking to the person who's the subject of all the shit? Like, not a very thorough. And
well, to me, if you're reaching out to the actual person, that has more potential for escalation than it does, because they're going to be like, oh, ROH got in touch with me and said this, blah, blah, blah. That has a potential to go on Twitter.
Josh wasn't assume or anything. Josh made a point. He wasn't, like, trying to get them in trouble. He wasn't looking. He just felt that it was an inappropriate action. I don't know. But the best part about it is what happened fucking Tuesday. Is I don't know if you saw Josh's thread that he posted, but one Kevin Owens had reached out to him recently and said, hey, saw what happened with you at that show. Next time we're in town, I'm going to get you tickets. And Kevin hooked him up with front row tickets to SmackDown.
Apparently it wasn't very hard to get tickets to that show, I hear.
Oh, yeah, sure, but they were front row still. And,
no, it's nice. That's nice on Kevin's front.
Out ahead of time. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I just think it's funny. Kevin was like, I know you're a cool guy, and PWG is cool, and that's fucking lame. So, yeah, pre-show on us. Yeah. Man, and then, so it got weird. Like, then there was all of this kind of, like, talking about, like, how much control should promotion have over fans? Isn't it the idea of, like, fans being able to be fans and act the way they're going to act? You buy your ticket, like, all that kind of stuff. And now it's almost like a weird thing where if people are, like, acting out, it's then appropriate to kick them out of the show. Like, it's kind of bizarre. The same things happened in football here in Australia. Like, there's actually a thing that's going on right now, like a current controversy, where fans are getting kicked out of AFL games because they've, referees be idiots. Referee's going to make terrible call, and then they yell a, swear word at the referee or whatever. And then fans are getting kicked out for it because the referee feels like he's personally being persecuted or is somehow offended by this. It's like, it's getting to a dangerous, like, level of, like, just policing fans at these kind of, like,
public sporting events and wrestling events to where it's like, are you kidding? Like the same things happen in soccer over here in Australia where people are like, it's just a bad experience to go now. Like you're so under a microscope to where you can't even like yell out anything or heckle or anything like that because they've got like undercover security guards that are there to monitor the crowd and shit like that. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, man. I believe that every venue or business has the right to refuse any customer they like, but it does get strange to dictate where they draw the line because it's going to change from person to person. Like, dude, PWG is classic for a Super Dragon fan just standing up and shouting Super Dragon for 15 minutes straight. Nobody could get the guy to fucking shut up, and
Yeah.
Eventually everyone's just dealing with it. Like nobody's kicking the guy out. Actually, they just like, dude, shut the fuck up.
That did create one of the most magical moments in PWG history, though. Let's not take that away.
Deny it. No, that's why I referenced it. Like if you think about it, because that guy was such an asshole, it was awesome.
Yeah, so good.
You have to. I don't know. I guess everything is going to have to be a case by case basis. I think definitely homophobic or transphobic or anything that's straight up hate speech, probably.
You should always get a warning, though. To me, someone pulls that shit, and it was like we were talking with John last time for the Double or Nothing, right? You should, whether it is, if security does feel the need there to say, hey, that's not appropriate here, do it again, you're out. That should be what happens.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It never should be, someone says something and they just get kicked outside unseen. But I prefer, it's funny you brought up PWG. I think PWG is so great because the fans police themselves. And that's the way it should be. The audience should be the ones. It shouldn't be a security guard. It shouldn't be the company. It should be the audience telling people what's going to fly and what's not, And PWG has been the best because the fans police themselves. Someone's pulling something that's like, noticeably annoying. Like, they'll generally shut that down. I know there was an incident a little while ago where there was some fans that kind of like, people were saying brought bad vibes to the whole show. But for the most part, that's how it should be, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's typically the environment that dictates what is appropriate. So that can change from show to show. But yeah, I don't know. If somebody just jumped up and said the N-word in the middle of a wrestling show, I think there's a no warning thing. It's like everyone should be like, "Hey, what the fuck? Get the fuck out of here, dude!" Like if somebody's jumped up and started shouting the N-word at the wrestlers, like two black guys come out, he's like, "Just ends." I'm like, no warning, sir. Get the fuck out of here.
Did you hear about the thing when Eddie died? There was a CCW show and they did like a 10-bell salute for Eddie. And this is like on YouTube. And there's this douchebag that during the 10-bell salute just starts like booing and yelling and interrupting the whole thing. It just creates like a real bad scene. And like CCW fans have a bit of a rep to start with. But then
is that the one where Eddie Kingston flips out?
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. But the rest of the crowd just basically like ejects him. That starts
they point him out.
Point him out. And then Eddie Kingston, bloody ledge Eddie Kingston, just straight up. And then they kick the guy out of the show straight away. And I'm like, that is an appropriate time to kick someone out of a show,
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, no, I love that. Everyone needs to check out that video if you haven't already. And then another thing sort of similar to this, you see the Scarlett Bordeaux thing in AAA?
Oh my god, that was...
Holy shit. I watched this straight away.
Her reaction was so, like, amazing, like, and looked scary. She actually looked like she was just being an incredibly good actress, because she even said she didn't know what was going on at first. Yeah. But holy crap, like, it was sheer horror on her face when this guy had his arms wrapped around her.
So describe this for our listeners at home.
Yes. So we have Scarlett Bordeaux very close to the guardrail, dressed as one does, being Scarlett Bordeaux, scantily
somewhat
clad.
Scantily clad, skimpy outfit. But I mean, women have the right to wear what they want, let's put that out there.
Yeah, beautiful. She looks great, in my opinion. So this guy, front row, apparently thinks he's going to take one of the wrestlers home with him. He reaches out and wraps both arms around her and squeezes her in close and bear hugs her from behind.
Did you see Cubs fans post on this? His like just response was like, "Fans, please do not try to take the wrestlers home." I
Yes,
laughed for like a good 30 seconds.
So she fucking freaks out, like breaks away from him, and like literally you see her scream in terror, like. And then she realizes, like, it was literally a fan just grabbing her. Like, oh, I couldn't imagine. I hope that guy got kicked out. Nobody's.
Well, I
And then
think
saw another video of
partially
go ahead.
this is an ignorance based on the not knowing the culture and not knowing what like that to an extent anything goes like that in Mexican wrestling. Like this shit that just wouldn't fly anywhere else but Mexican wrestling. It's kind of like when I saw it, I was like, wow, she really hasn't seen that gif of remember the fan that tried to like pull LA Park's mask off when he like was sitting
got punched
down
in the face.
and LA Park just turns around and like haymakers him and just takes him off his feet. It's like
There's a video recently. It was I think it was Drago had a girl Rena when he was like about to jump and slap him on the ass.
oh yeah, I remember that. That was great. But I mean, that's what I mean. Like, there's this things in Mexican wrestling.
The little
that-
light sexual harassment never hurt anybody. Is that what you're saying here, Chris?
I'm not saying that, but I'm like, it's almost like just a cultural. You have to just know the culture to a point. It's like I remember hearing ages back, like the beautiful people. Speaking of Velvet Sky and what's the other one?
Angelina Love.
Yeah. They when they're back in TNA, they did like a tour of AAA. I think they only went down to like one show. This was when they had like the TNA agreement there, and apparently they were just outraged over the whole experience of like like in Mexican wrestling you have like shows that are like a lot of time on like dirt. Like there won't be a shower. If there's a shower, it like might be like just weirdly in the middle of the changing room, or there'll be like a toilet with like no like barriers or anything. You just have to go in front of the rest of the locker room. Shit like that's just commonplace. But to them, they were just outraged at the treatment that they got. They were like, "This is ridiculous," rah, 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 rah. And all of the other Mexican women on the show just thought they were the worst like prima donnas in the history of the world. Especially like people like Fabi Apache, who are like legends of the sport, and it's like this is where she wrestles on a day-to-day basis, and then you have these American gringo chicks that come down and bury it. It's like, you're kidding me? So I think there's like a lack of understanding of just what Mexican wrestling is to a point. I mean, I'm not saying what happened is like right or excusable or anything like that, but I think to a point people were looking at it like, oh, that's outrageous. This guy should be sued. Rah, rah, rah. It's like, yo, it's Mexican wrestling, man. Like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you're saying, but regrettably, it kind of sounds almost like excusing like a rape culture type vibe. I know you're not trying to, but it's like basically saying it's okay for this to happen because it's in Mexico is a terrible thing to say. It's like sounds ridiculous. No one deserves to have their ass grabbed when they're trying to do a spot. Like even if you're okay with it, like there's no consent there. Like I know it's a different culture, but I don't know.
Like to me, it's not that much further than like the Puerto Rican stories of like the heels getting like urine and shit and like batteries and stuff thrown at them.
Insane. I know that. Yeah,
but it's like,
that
can you
is
imagine going
bananas.
to Puerto Rico and being like, I can't believe this treatment? It's like, man, you went to Puerto Rico. Like,
that's fair. That's fair. I got a D battery in my dick. Ah, but yeah, fucking A, man. I don't know. Don't touch the wrestlers unless they're like, hey, you chop this other wrestler. It sounds like there's probably some sort of consent right there. You're probably okay. But outside of that, don't do it.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, but yeah, I wonder how this is going to continue. Like just this whole thing of like, I hope people can just chill out in terms of wrestling companies and security and that policing fans.
Just go be a fan, guys. Just go be a fan. That's all you gotta do.
Just go be a fan. That was good. All right, I'm not going to top that. Let's move on. What's next?
Oh man. Speaking of ledge, we had one Adam Brooks in town
The loose
this
ledge
weekend.
himself.
Yeah, dude. He spent the entire match with his ass hanging out, literally.
Classic.
Yeah, and then at the end, the fans said, "Land down under, land down under," and you could see Adam popped a little bit. But
That's pretty
it was
clever.
cool to see. I don't think the people when he walked out, like nobody up in Everett, except for maybe the people who are putting on the show and a select few who are in attendance, understood like the level of competitor that they were getting to see up here in Everett, Washington. But still, he put on a really fun match with Chase James. It was a pretty good show.
Nice. Yeah, I've said before, I'm a big fan of Adam Brooks. We don't get to see much of him in Australia anymore, which is good for him. Like, I'm very happy with the amount of success he's having over there. I really have my fingers crossed that he's the type of guy we see in ROH soon. I think he'd be a great get for them. And I know he did some stuff for them in the UK shows. I think everyone's talking everyone wants everyone to go to All Elite, but you can only have so many dudes in a company, and I feel like he's the kind of guy that would get more opportunities in a place like ROH than elsewhere. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to keep tabs.
And Juice no longer working with ROH, and opens up another slot.
That was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like the way that it was worded, and I hate this like wrestling website, rumor and innuendo. Oh, bloody hell, rumor and innuendo. Yeah. I'm turning into bloody Bruce Pritchard over here.
Rumor and innuendo.
But like, I hate the thing. I remember I read something where it's like, saying that it somehow makes them lesser stars by working in front of ROH. Like, are you kidding me? Like, ROH's production compared to the production of the regular indies that a lot of these guys will be working for in the States, like a guy like Chase Owens, some of these like southern state indies, you really think that working in like somewhere with a production the scale of ROH with TV and everything like that is going to be worse than working for your local South Kagalaki wrestling indie promotion?
It's certainly not. And, but I could also see like they put in part of this group where the group itself had no like running theme to it. Like it was all seemed hodgepodge, didn't really make any sense. So I could see even being annoyed with the direction that they automatically put him in. Like he's the leader of this group that is bringing honor back to Ring of Honor. Like what the fuck?
I've been watching their product, man. Like the last couple of weeks, I was sort of getting caught up, like in time for their Best in the World pay-per-view. And
I got that shit DVR.
Honestly, like their product, there's so many people that bury it, but for someone that just wants a wrestling product, they don't want like starting opening monologues of shows and all of these like soap opera elements and stuff like that. They just want like an old school 80s like Mid-South or Crockett back in the day, like just an actual hour-long wrestling program. Like, it's great. I don't think there's anything better than it, and I have no idea how so many people like bury it. Like it's basic, but it's like you get a good open-end match. You get like some backstage promos talking about how much the main event heel's going to kick the other guy's ass or whatever. You might have some other little bits and pieces, and then your main event. It's just solid wrestling, and I really dig it. And I was actually have been a bit of a fan of the way they've done this group that you're talking about that Juice was in.
Lifeblood.
Yeah, Lifeblood. Like, I'm a big fan of all those guys, and I think it's almost kind of like, I think we were talking about before, it's almost more of a Gen Next kind of vibe to it, where they're there to be the antithesis of like the all of the bullshit finishes and cheating and stuff like that. They're here to bring honor back, they're here to shake hands, that kind of thing. That being said, I thought Juice was maybe like a weird head of
de
that.
facto leader, yeah.
Yeah, and like just sort of that thing that brought them together was a bit odd. In general, I don't think Juice is like an ROH kind of guy in some ways, which is weird because I love him in New Japan, but for some reason he just doesn't vibe right in ROH. Whereas everyone else in Lifeblood I've been a big fan of. Haskin's been great, Bandito's been great, Tracy Williams has been having some awesome matches on ROH TV and actually getting to wrestle, which you don't get to see on many like other wrestling TV platforms like that. So if people have been on the ball and thinking ROH just sucks and why would I bother watching it, like Do yourself a favor. Check out something like there was an awesome match with Bandito and so who's the South African guy? Just used to be Justin Gabriel.
PJ Black.
Yeah, PJ Black. That was just great wrestling. Like there's some awesome stuff going on there. So don't believe that necessarily just because everyone's like, oh, ROH sucks, all Elite's where it's at. Like there's some good stuff, in my opinion, at least.
Well, even Impact got a lot better.
Yeah.
Last couple months, even probably the last year since the beginning of the year, that was pretty damn good.
I actually watched the last couple of Impact
My
Wrestling.
cable provider got rid of or they changed networks, I think, and I don't think I get the new channel, unfortunately. So I'm not.
I hear they've had a lot of dramas with the current channel. Like sometimes they'll play like the wrong one, and there've been like weird snafus where the show hasn't finished.
A pop-up showed up with like a Google search window one time. It's so fucking funny.
I think the best way to do it is to get there, have that new Impact Wrestling app, and you don't even have to like pay for it. If you're just on there, like create subscribe to it, and you can just watch the Impact shows for free on there.
Oh, we're not getting paid for this plug, guy. Stop it.
Yeah, right.
Knock it off. Halfway into it, I was like, "Oh, we're not getting paid. Why is this guy saying this stuff?"
I don't know. I like to share rad shit with people.
Rad shit.
Rad shit.
Hey, speaking of rad shit, that match, that lucha match you had.
Oh, I almost forgot about that.
Since we forget talking about the wrestling we watched, we should talk about that. I actually wanted to talk about something that happens during the match and happens in a lot of matches. What I have decided to call Chekhov's foreign object. So there's always like in wrestling where something gets set up, and in this case it was a table, or no, actually it was a series of chairs, like 6 of them that got set up at the beginning of the match, and they didn't touch them, and they just kind of went on for the match from there. I love that in matches where you're like, okay, we know that thing over there is going to come into play at some point. So I was explaining, the concept of Chekhov's gun, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was explaining to Alicia, like, hey, Alicia, see those barbed wire, see the thumbtacks thing? Those are Chekhov's thumbtacks. She's like, I have no idea what that means. Like, it's a really smart wrestling joke. I wish you did. So I had to explain it to her. But yeah, it's so funny how that every weapon almost in wrestling is Chekhov's such and such weapon, because you'll see it appear. It may not be used, but that shit's going to come into play.
I look at it from the perspective of like you're doing a stand-up act, like a stand-up comedy type of thing, and you'll plant the seeds for your jokes early in your stand-up set, and you'll put something down a little bit, and some people may think, oh, that's just it, but then it's there for the later in the joke callback.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So the match we were talking about is Ricky Marvin, which I fucking love that name, by the way.
The funny thing, how we got onto this actually, because Ricky Marvin, amazing. Like I love Ricky Marvin and Noah. Like Ricky Marvin's so underrated. He had like so many great matches with dudes like Kenta, Ishimori. Like when I think Noah still has the best junior division in the world, full stop. But like back then, everyone thought that. And so we watched this Ricky Marvin match with Kenta from like 2008, 2007, something like that. And then we're like, I wonder what Ricky Marvin's doing today. And then I was like, wait, I think there was a match that Cubs fan put over from like 6 months ago or something on some Mexican show that Ricky Marvin was on. So then we Googled it and we found this match. What's the name so we can give the proper recommendation to people here?
I think it was Keyra or Sarah. I'll pull it up because I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I've got the message thread here. Let me go back.
But yeah, it was a really just a great hard-hitting intergender lucha match, and it was great. And the
Ricky
whole
Marvin
vibe
versus Keyra in Lucha Memes. And the best part was this was in like there were not that many people there. It had a dirt bloody floor. I was like, what is this place used for? Is it used for like horses? Is this like a cockfighting pen that they're wrestling in?
Backyard, yeah. It looked like somebody actually cleaned up some backyard to make backyard wrestling fancy. But then the ring apron had like guys like Manny Pacquiao on it and shit.
Yeah.
Like
it gave me the vibe of like those fighting games like Mortal Kombat or like Street Fighter. And it's just like you have this is the standard Mexican indie fighting scene background that you've selected.
That's the stage. What stage did you select? It's Mexican dirt wrestling. But yeah, it was so dope. And then I just love the whole environment. Like, there's a portion of it where he keeps on throwing her into the chairs and into the audience, asking them to move. Some people just refuse to move; they just stay there.
Yeah, there was like this 40-year-old Mexican man that was just like, "I'm not moving," and they like get thrown on his lap, and he just laughs. Like,
and there's like literally some places where were dirt, but other sections of the floor was literally like gravel or rocks all piled up where the people were sitting on. But my favorite part, I think, outside of the match itself, was this fucking referee, dude.
Oh yeah,
the referee
what a gimmick.
Was cool as hell. Had sunglasses on, an orange
bow
tie, and just looked pimp as fuck. But then his 3 counts were hilarious. Like, he gave a little half-second extra on each one, like with a little flare on his arm. But I love this guy. I was watching him the entire time.
Oh, he was great.
He looked like a Mexican Masahiro Chono ref.
yeah, I can see that. So I was watching this match with this famed Australian wrestler who we've had on the show before, Mr. Slade Mercer, and his lady. And she doesn't know wrestling, you know. She's the kind of, like, she's watched, you said they've watched a couple of, like, that Vice, Dark Side of the Ring kind of stuff together, but generally she won't watch any wrestling. And so we're just putting stuff on. And she got so into this match. She's like, this is the most she's ever been into wrestling, like, ever. And
understandable.
Yeah, she was just down. Like, to me, there was, in this match, I had no idea how much I would appreciate just people getting slammed into dirt and then dirt dust clouds coming up. That was just a really satisfying aesthetic.
Or that guy who came out to help Ricky Marvin set up a spot for a second, the guy on the blue polo. Like, some random dude came up and started helping set up the piece of really flimsy wood between
the flimsy wood was the best. So they put the chairs up, so like, as the surface that's going to put this wood, and you think, all right, they're going to get like some plywood or whatever from the back. And this is like some fucking old piece of wood that I'm like, has this been like the wall of like a shed for like 25 years? And they're finally thrown it out and they're like, oh, we'll use that in a spot. Like, it was half broken already. It was warped. It was like so decrepit looking. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was just overall like some great heel stuff with Marvin overpowering her for the majority of the match, and like the way she finally got him back was great. Like, off of the fucking top rope spot where he got knocked down, and then, you know, she then took control from there. And
everything looked so
I just
solid.
really dug the pacing. Yeah. Oh, that's true. Like, stiff stuff. Like, she wasn't pulling any punches. He was actually laying it in pretty good.
To me, this is what an intergender match should be. You know, she is looking like a badass. She's giving it her all. She's like really connecting with these forearms, and he's like murdering her right back. It was kind of like the Chris Dickinson match in Beyond with Princess
Kimberly.
Yeah, Kimberly reminded me of that a bit. But I think this was even better than that, actually. But yeah, it had like an intensity to it. Like, you could actually tell that the crowd like got onto her side, Keyra, and like there was like an emotion to it. I actually was like getting behind Keyra myself while watching it. Like, I was marking out during this, and when they actually went through that flimsy piece of shit wood on the outside, that broke way better than I thought it would. Were you surprised by this?
Oh, definitely. And then they finally get to the Chekhov's chairs, and she does a fucking Spanish fly, which I figured that was going to happen the way they were fighting on the apron, but she does the Spanish fly off the apron through the fucking chairs to the outside.
So good. And it looks so painful.
Awesome. Yes, dude, it looked so cool.
Yeah, Matt's girlfriend was like, that looked like it really hurt. And I was like, it probably
did. Doubt it did. Yeah, no doubt in hell it did.
We were talking earlier, like when they're still in the ring, but we had the gimmick set up on the outside. Like, to start with, Matt's like, do you think he's gone through that? And I'm like, yeah, the way he set up that gimmick, he's definitely taking that bump later on. It reminded me of like Kevin Steen in PWG kind of thing, when he'd set up his chair gimmicks, and you're like, you know, he's gone through it.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Like, a lot of the times when, or I would even say the majority of the time when somebody sets up something big and shit, they're the one who ends up going through the shit.
Yeah.
And it's like the ironic oh, it's ironic the turnabout, but it's really like this guy's setting it up. I'm not gonna get hurt if I do it just like this.
Yeah, you want to be, making sure everything's right with that kind of thing. But yeah, we were talking when they were still in the ring. Matt's like, so we're like, all right, we're pretty sure Ricky Marvin's going to take this. It's like, what's it going to be? And I'm like, straight up, I'm just like, Spanish fly on the outside. And he's like, whoa, you really? You think so? And he was like thinking they're going to do like a superplex to the outside or something like that. And I was so happy when we got that Spanish fly.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's funny when you're watching wrestling to the point where you're like, okay, this is the logical sequence. And even if it's like predictable when it happens, you're like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
So good. But yeah, and then like when they got back in the ring and the actual wrestling and like when Ricky Marvin was getting her in those the Liger,
The
like
submissions.
the surfboard.
Yep. Oh yeah, the rolling.
That
and
was
they kept
brutal. And she
Yeah, when he
must be like double jointed or something, hey, because she was like, oh.
Yeah, when he picked her up finally for the last one, he like just wrenched it in like 3 times, like really hard. I was like, damn, dude, that's like the most brutal surfboard I've seen.
Yeah, and he like did the over a face roll, and then he like cinched it into like just pulling the neck back as well. Oh,
and then the finisher when he like you think she's gonna win, and he just gets her into the sorry, I ruined the finish. You guys still enjoyed the match. We talked about most of it. Just locks her into a fucking Boston Crab and just sits down so fucking hard.
yeah, and to start with, he had like the single leg like Lance Storm version, but it was like the most. I never saw any Lance Storm single leg Boston Crabs that looked like they hurt this much. And then he got the full Boston after she got out of the first one and just cranked it down. So it was like you look at other dudes doing submissions and you're like, I think there's room to make this look like it hurts more. And this was really the maximum of that. I'd say this is the hard end of making it look like it hurts, hey?
For sure.
I enjoyed this so much more than I thought I would be. So yeah, Ricky Marvin apparently still great.
Because I had it in front of me on my tablet. I literally, very rarely do I not look at something else while I'm watching a wrestling match. I'm just captivated watching the entire thing. I'm like, how great is this?
Yeah, I want to watch more Lucha Memes now.
Yeah.
Damn, this
especially if it's in that venue. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I need more dirt floor venues.
Yep. More dirt floor smoke clouds off of moves, please. That's what I want in my life, in my wrestling. All Elite, please book some venues on dirt floors.
Sure, you might be only get 30, 40 people in the venue, whatever, but it'll look cool.
Book it in a rodeo or something, you know? Some of those rodeos are pretty big.
That'd be dope.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was very much fun. Everyone needs to check out that Lucha Memes. It was posted by Mas Lucha, and Mas Lucha posts a lot of good stuff. Like, I know Cubs fans, some people have like buried them because apparently they don't pay the companies to film the matches. But at the same time, like Cubs fans have said, most of these matches, if it wasn't for Mas Lucha, wouldn't have been filmed to start with anyway. So there's a lot of great stuff. Everyone check out the Mas Lucha. That's Plus Lucha on YouTube, and you'll find some great stuff. I watched the other week when Mitch was over. I was just scrolling through random shit on there, and there was like just a great match with Flamita and Rey Horus, I think. And this match was like just wait. No, I think that was it. Flamita and Rey Horus. And this was like high-end PWG style kind of stuff, and you're just seeing it in front of like a couple hundred Mexican fans on an indie show, and it's just for free on YouTube. Magical. Right on. Yeah, would recommend. And yeah, Ricky Marvin versus Keyra, that's Keyra, in Lucha Memes. Fun times.
Hey, real quick, earlier I asked if anybody on Twitter had any questions for us, and we only got 2 questions, both from Social Suplex guys.
Heck
both
yeah.
Rich and Jeremy hit us up and wanted to know, for each of us personally, who's your favorite independent wrestler at this time, from Jeremy Donovan. Who is yours, friend?
All right into the hot seat here. All right, I'm going to pick someone that's not in, being booked in your PWGs or your All Elite just yet, because to me, once you're at that level, like, you're not really in indie guy per se. So I am going to give it to Chris Dickinson. I've loved his matches. Like, he's gotten he's been so good for so long, but just lately, like, no one brings the intensity that Dickinson brings. Like, we watched I don't know if you actually got around to it on that Beyond show that also matched with him and Eric Stevens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I was like, I think 90% of why I love this match is just because of how good Chris Dickinson is, you know?
Yeah, for real. Shit, I started thinking about it, and I really didn't have anything off the top of my mind, and then I start thinking a lot of the guys who I would consider independent wrestlers aren't necessarily independent anymore now that they're working for AEW, right? It's like,
Yeah.
Fucking A, man. I honestly don't. I can't say off the top of my head. Maybe Deppen, like every match I see, he entertains.
That's what it was in the back of my head too.
But he's been in PWG when he did that qualifier, so
that's okay. We can bend the rules a bit.
But yeah, I just honestly, Tony Deppen is fucking awesome. He's definitely popping off.
Deppen's great. Like when David was over and we were watching, I think we were watching GCW, and Deppen was the guy that David was like, "Where has this guy been all my life?" Like, he's basically like just this. I mean, how would you describe him? Just like his awesome assholeness, but like being so animated, but also being like a really good worker who makes shit look good and like looks like he actually lays like stuff in a little bit.
He's like an 80s movie cartoon bad guy, like a type character, but an actual grappler who's like snotty and in your face. Like he's just a fucking jerk. He's like, he comes off as like such a prick, you know what I mean?
Just
but
a
he's
dickhead.
Fucking great.
Just a perfect dickhead.
A straight up dickhead.
Yeah, bloody dickhead.
And honestly, I know it's cliche and he's not like putting out all the greatest matches in the world, but just some of the most entertaining. But Orange Cassidy is everything he's been involved in has been entertaining the shit out of me in 2019.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been impressed by Orange Cassidy of late. They're finally working out, wow, this guy is rad.
Fucking A, they're so it's hard to even nail down. It's like such a ridiculous question, Jeremy. I apologize, but it's hard to pick one guy. I have no favorites of anything mostly. Like, it's hard to say. That's actually one of my biggest pet peeves when people are like, what's your favorite such and such? And like you'll pick
in
one
wrestling
subject,
as well. Like specifically,
even that,
it's such an art
what's your
form
favorite
that's
movie?
Straight up.
No, I mean I'm not necessarily asking. I'm just when people ask that kind of shit, it's hard to quantify.
Yeah. I can chuck out top 5, but to say your favorite, yeah.
Or people who say my favorite movie and they name 3 things. I'm like, well, you don't have a favorite if you name 3. You got to pick one of those items, friend.
Courtney
one
always
has to
buries
win.
me for that. I have multiple favorites of everything.
No, you don't. You just like everything. And I like Courtney so much because I hate when people say that. Like, what's your favorite wrestler? And they give you 5 wrestlers. I'm like, no, favorite. It's not plural.
You just whip out the dictionary definition of favorite.
Yeah, look here, friend.
Oh, well, I hope we offered some good answers on that one, guys.
Next one is who do we want to see go over to good old Spain to wrestle A-Kid? Someone who hasn't done so yet.
Ooh. That's a good question because A-Kid is popping off. Did you see that amazing match he had with Zach that really got this whole thing going?
Was that before Mania weekend?
Yeah, that was the one that Dave gave the big 5 to, and everyone's like, "What? This guy we've never heard of before in Spain, of all places, has gotten a 5-star match? That's insane!" And then he's just become a big star everywhere else because of it, especially in the UK.
Yeah, I think I have it. I can't say for sure. It's been a while since that day. But who is he? Who is he wrestling? I know he's tremendous. I got to see him work during the weekend, WrestleMania weekend. Shoot, I don't know, man. I guess pretty much anyone who works even against his style, like maybe somebody even a little bit bigger. You know what I mean? Like man. That's a fucking good question. It's hard to say. What kind of matchup would you like to see, Kristen?
Right. So this is a little bit repetitive, I guess, but to me, I loved the Zack match so much because the whole match was just Zack being a dickhead and bullying him, and just being a jerk to him, and like him like actually wrestling and grappling and like aggressive grappling as well. And like you could really hang with that style. Like a lot of people think, hey, kid's just this flippy dude, but he can actually do some great wrestling too. So to me, I'd like to me someone that can actually bring out that side of him, maybe even more. Straight back to Chris Dickinson. I would love to see that match, singles match, A-Kid and Chris Dickinson. I think that'd be great.
I got one for you. I think he's soon to be returning from injury. One, Chris Sabin.
Ooh. I was such a fan of Sabin back in the day. Even
I still
recently,
am.
in like even like the last before he got injured in ROH, he was still looking good.
Yeah, he's running. Lastly, the Constellation, Chris Sabin. Yeah, I was digging it.
Yeah, Chris Sabin's the goods. I'm hoping he's gets better and comes back and everything.
I actually was bullshitting with him because I've done shirt designs for him. I said, gotta get Alex out of retirement, and you guys gotta bring Motor City up to Defy. That's what's gotta happen.
Oh, we need the comeback tour of the Motor City Machine Guns. Because people forget,
Dude, Alex
like...
Shelley is fucking great. Watching him from early ROH days and early TNA days when he was Baby Bear, and then the guy who was kind of on the outside of Generation Next, he was like maybe like on the back burner out of all of those guys, and then kind of come to the forefront. But I always thought,
to me, he was always like the captain of Generation Next. Like he was the...
What?
Yeah, because he was the best talker out of all of them. So he was like up front as the talker. And especially when they first formed.
They just gave him the mic.
Well, this was before they were pushing Aries as much. Like to me, like that first 6 months of Gen Next, like it really seemed like this is Alex Shelley's group kind of thing. And then it was almost, he then sort of fell a bit more to the back foot of it. And then they split it up, and we got the awesome Prince Nana, Alex Shelley.
Shit. I forgot about that.
What was that group called again?
The Embassy.
The Embassy, and you do the hands, the pointy up together, pray hands above your head thing. I'm doing it at home in case people can see it.
Jimmy Rave, all those guys. Fucking, that was an awesome group.
Jimmy Rave. But he was the original crown jewel of the Embassy, right?
Yes, sir. Good job.
Thanks. But yeah, Alex Shelley was so good. And like I remember he had like one of Danielson's best ROH title defenses at the ECW arena against Alex Shelley. Just so much fun. And so many guys cite Alex Shelley as such a huge inspiration to them. Like Johnny Gargano, for example, I'm pretty sure he would be in no way the Johnny Gargano that everyone loves at the moment, if it wasn't for Alex Shelley.
Indeed.
Real trailblazer. And like just the Bucks as well. Like I don't know if the Bucks would even be who they are now if it wasn't for that awesome feud that they had with the Machine Guns in PWG back in the day.
Agreed.
Yeah. We need a comeback for the Motor City Machine Guns. I would love that very much.
The world needs it, friend. The world needs it.
The world, yeah. So I'm thinking we're not going to get this run in from Ben. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's at work. So in that place, let's just briefly talk about this show ourselves, I think. So this was in Melbourne. We have this really cool company at the moment called World Series Wrestling, and they're basically the Super Indie of Australia. They bring out big name indie guys from the States, like your Pentagon Juniors, Flamita, Marty Skrull, Brian Cage.
Was this the show that that big group that Jordan Grace and Jeff Cobb were going to?
Yes. Yeah, that was the one.
Cool.
So yeah, they do these tours of Australia, and they'll just like load it up. And you look at these cards, and you're like, how are they possibly making money? But their ticket prices are pretty hefty. So like they can make some pretty good coin by selling out a 400 seat venue kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they did 2 nights in a row in Melbourne, more specifically at Ferntree Gully, where I've complained about before. If you're going to get to this place in public transport, it will take you an hour from the city. And then you have to walk like 2 kilometers, like a mile or whatever. But yeah, it's a beautiful venue, just a venue that's built for nothing else than just wrestling. A purpose-built shed that has been converted into a wrestling venue with fancy production, fancy lights, smoke machine, real nice bleacher seating. It's wonderful. So it's worth the trek. And then the next night they did a show in Sydney at the Roundhouse. But yeah, I went to the night 1 and 2 in Melbourne with Ben. And yeah, it was just really fun. It reminded me a lot of. Do you remember back in the day there was this super indie group in the UK called 1PW?
I do.
And like Steve Carino worked there, and like that was where Sterling James Keenan back in the day. I first ever heard about him. Our Corey Graves for those playing at home. Yeah, and like Abyss and like AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, like they just loaded these cards up. Didn't run like huge venues in the UK. They just bring all these people out to do like 2 nights in a row at a venue that probably seated 800 people or something like that. And this is pretty much the Australian version of that. So they're bringing out all these big name guys, but the good thing is they're mixing it with the local talent too. So when they first started this off, it was just basically the Australians were glorified jobbers to put the Americans over. But now they kind of like got a better mix. I mean, the Australians are far, I think, on the worldwide, got a lot more respect now than they did when they first started this thing.
Let me ask you a quick question on that. Do you think that's due to the guys not wanting to come down unless they were getting put over, or that the guys just felt, hey, it'd be cool for our guys to put these stars over and get a chance to bump with them in the ring without any sort of care for their future business?
I think it, like, from a promoter perspective, if you like the booker on that side of thing, it would have made sense, like, you know, on the surface. Oh, we're paying all this money to bring these big stars out, and then we can like fill out the rest of these cards with local Australian talent, and obviously the Australian talent are there to support the Americans. So you're just looking at it that way, in like a one-dimensional type of thing. But then the longer they're there, the more they're like, wow, some of these Australians, like a Robbie Eagles, or an Adam Brooks, or a Jonah, are like bloody on that like they're that good. They're on that same level.
Yeah.
So then that's where I think they got to the stage where it's like, actually, we should be pushing some of these select Australians even, you know, at the same level, or even putting them over the Americans, which is where we're at kind of now. Which kind of sucks that they're doing that now when like Jonah and Brooksy are both like gone. But I mean, they're still doing a great job with Robbie Eagles. He's kind of the face of the company at the moment. But yeah, we had the big upset of him dropping the title to Marty Scurll. So I'm wondering whether that perhaps might be, you know, as maybe Robbie going to have more regular work on full-time tours with New Japan or something like that. Fingers crossed. We'll see. But yeah, really fun show all around. They did a great job of spotlighting the Australians. Top matches that I saw. It's always good when the main event is the best match of a show.
Yeah, you would hope it is. Typically.
That was the case on both nights. So night 1 we got the Villain Enterprises of Brody King and Marty Scurll dropping the tag team titles to the Flippin' Machines of Flip Gordon and Brian Cage.
That's a good name.
And it was great because they were meant to do this tag team on the last tour, but then Flip got hurt. So then they had to like put it off, and they even had like merch and everything made up, and they just had Flip come out to basically do what he could, you know, because he was still hurt. And so it's been being built up for so long. They when they announced him, they're like the most drawn out debut of all time kind of thing as a tag team.
Like the RJ City coming to this show.
yeah, exactly. When it finally happens, brother. Oh. But yeah, it was funny. Like they finally debut as a tag team, and when they make their final debut as a tag team, they win the titles, which was good. But it's kind of cool, like, you know, an ROH guy teaming with an Impact Wrestling guy like that. Like that's the uniqueness of this promotion. I think you get dream matches that you wouldn't get anywhere else in America.
Yeah, because nobody knows it's going on, man.
But I think most of these guys no competes, like for working for certain companies or certain guys, are more just within North America as opposed to outside of it. So like maybe that's why they're allowed to get away with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just a great match. Just everything you would want out of that, and like all guys are so good. all four of those dudes. Other than that, the main event of night 2 was just a great match, the title match between Marty and Robbie Eagles. Like, just, it was like just a story of Marty beating the absolute shit out of Robbie and just like slamming him over and over again, giving these like nasty like suplexes where he's like dropping him on his head and stuff, to the point where the actual guys next to me were like, "Jeez, lighten up on him, Marty. He's got a big match next week." Like the New Japan one coming up in Melbourne in like 2 days against Will Ospreay for the IWGP Junior title. So that was pretty good.
That's one of the funnest parts of wrestling shows, like when you see something really fucking insane, like a stiff or a high angle suplex, and then you and some random stranger like look at each other and say, "Holy fuck!" Like,
yeah,
good lord, man.
Yeah, the crowd was really good. They're kind of like smarky, like to a point where it's like almost there's a little bit of it that you're like, "Oh, come on, guys!" Like with some of those
Cringy.
shitty chants of
Yeah.
"Fight forever" or "This so many this is awesome." So, if something's above average, it's awesome. But overall, I thought they were good, and they made the show better. And they had some really good calls as well. Like, even though they're like kind of getting themselves over kind of calls, there was this one guy during the Brody King Jeff Cobb match, singles match, which was bloody awesome. Like, I enjoyed that so much. Just a great hoss fight. Like, both of those guys are two of my favorites. And then this guy just, during like one of the quieter moments, he just stands up and he goes, "You, sir, look like a chef," to Brody King.
Yeah, I love that meme.
It's pretty spot on too,
Yeah. Oh, speaking of chants and people, when Robbie was up here, some guy tried to do the fucking Robbie chant.
Oh yeah.
And they didn't do it right. They just kept going Robbie. They didn't do the correct cadence. Like, they didn't skip to the next part where know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. So for our listeners at home, if you're going to a show and you're planning on doing this, let me help you out here. So you go, Aussie, Aussie,
Robbie
Aussie,
or Aussie, it's whatever.
oi, 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 Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. Then you don't keep doing that. At that point you go Aussie and then oi, Aussie, oi, Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. Or you replace the Aussie with Robbie. But
this is the first one repeatedly, and like Robbie initially, like, he goes along with it at first because he thinks the guy's doing it right, and then he just looks so irritated because the guy fucks it up.
It's funny.
I just started laughing.
I saw the same thing when I first saw Robbie debut in PWG. They tried to do that and they screwed it up because there weren't any Australians to help them out with the chant.
Yeah.
Oh, no, good stuff. So yeah, I would totally recommend for any Australians thinking about it, get out to these shows next time. There was some really fun stuff. Joey Janela was on the shows, and he was his perfect Joey Janela kind of self. He had a bit on the Sydney show apparently where, did you see the thing where he took the piss out of Jim Cornette a little bit?
I don't remember. This was Janela?
Yeah, he worked Joey Ryan on that show.
Okay.
So obviously between the two of them, there's a little bit of corny hate there, I would assume.
Sure.
And yeah, he had a thing where I think they like stapled a photo of Cornette's face onto Joey's face or something like that, and then he like ran off on this like promo about, what is it, like mud slinging indie
dirt
shows, yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Oh Lord, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then there was something else that they did that was funny. I don't know. I can't be responsible for all of these things.
Dude, Joey Janela and fucking bodied Cody Hall yesterday on Twitter. Did you see it?
No, what was this?
Oh fuck! I gotta read it verbatim. Give me 1 second. So yeah, people may or may not know Scott Hall's son Cody Hall is also, I guess, quote unquote, a professional wrestler.
He's been wrestling for a long time, man. He was in Bullet Club in New Japan, then he's been in Noah for like the last year and a half. He's really trying. He's a lot better than he used to be.
You'll hear what I mean when I get the tweet up here again. So Joey Janela tweeted out last night like he was having a shit day. He didn't want anyone coming at him to leave him the fuck alone. And then Cody Hall responds, "Post for attention, says leave me alone, like basically mocking him.
Yeah.
And so Joey's response was, dude, this is amazing. Dude, you're 28, 6'9", and the son of Scott Hall, and you're not signed anywhere nor get any notable independent dates. Get your fucking act together, Chico.
Ooh, ouch.
Fucking stiff, dude.
Sting.
Oh man. But yeah, he bodied him. The fucking tweet got reported on news sites as news when Joey Janela is talking shit. And Twitter's been crazy the last couple of days with Will Ospreay and Seth Rollins jawing at
Oh man, how weird is that? Has Seth Rollins just lost his mind? Because like he is coming across so bad. Like there is no way to defend what he's trying to say. He just comes across like such an idiot. Is it a heel turn? Is that what's going on?
I don't know. It's
meant to be a baby face.
Himself like it's a babyface rah for the company thing, but he definitely comes off as he's trying to mimic his girlfriend's shtick about jawing on Twitter, and he's not very good at it because he goes from saying we're the greatest wrestling, and then Will Ospreay says I'm still here, to eventually he just goes, I will crush you with my wallet, basically is what he says to Will Ospreay. And the other day, he kept going on further, talking shit to Wade Keller. And
I saw the thing on Ospreay, and then I really laughed when Jericho responded to it, being like, because he was making fun of Ospreay for being like small and saying like, we have a better version of you in Ricochet, which is complete bullshit, like, to be honest. But then Jericho responds to it being like, dude, he is literally bigger than you are. Like from having met both people, thought that was great.
Yeah. But yeah, Seth then says he's not fucking around anymore. He hopes everyone rallies behind what he's saying, and I see these fans defending it and saying he's just sticking up for the company, but there's a difference between sticking up for the company and then just coming off as an entitled dickhead that has a lot of money.
Yeah, and it's more so than sticking up for the company. He's actively burying other stuff. So that's to where I'm like, that's not really sticking up. I don't even get what he's doing here. And just the gall of saying that WWE has the best wrestling in the world, period. I don't think they ever have in their entire run of existence since they were the Worldwide Wrestling Federation in the 60s. They have never had the best wrestling in the world. They've always been known as the shitty place where you get more entertainment than actual wrestling. So I was just like, what?
They might have the best collection of talent they've ever had before, if you take all of their talent together. But if we're talking about the best wrestling, the actual wrestling side of it, no, certainly not. The shows
the
are
art of professional wrestling and in-ring and stuff. I mean, they probably have the biggest roster of the most underutilized talent in the history of professional wrestling. I'd say they've even outdone WCW on that one of late.
Yeah. Oh man, pretty ridiculous, man.
Yeah, but again, I don't want to get into burying those guys. But yeah, what does Seth get off here? I don't know. Maybe the call for attention. He thinks everyone's talking about all this other stuff and awesome matches in New Japan and All Elite and this great match between Dustin and Cody, and then no one's talking about Seth. So maybe he just wants a little bit more attention for himself.
Yeah, man, Seth freaking Rollins. Idiot.
Yeah. All right. What else you got?
Oh shit! Nothing comes to mind, man. I had some notes. I literally had notes written down of stuff I wanted to talk about, and I went into my phone, and it fucking is gone. It is gone.
That's okay. That's all right. Well, I'm excited for Saturday's New Japan show in Festival Hall. Seems like a really good card. Seems like the most it's way more loaded up than last time they were here, which is kind of like a glorified house show. And they're streaming it live on Fight TV, and then it's going to be up on New Japan World. We got a big singles match for the title, like I was saying before, between Robbie and Ospreay, which, for all intents and purposes, that has, that should be a great match. And where are you going to have a better match than a place that's going to have such a vested interest in Robbie as well, more so than Melbourne. So I cannot wait for that one. And then
Is
also,
it Spider Fest Saturday too?
Yeah, it's the same day. How weird's that?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And then they've also got one of the best matches. Did you watch any of the Best of the Super Juniors?
No, I didn't, unfortunately.
Dude, there was a lot of amazing wrestling. Like, honestly, some of the best wrestling I've ever seen in terms of a Japanese tournament.
Yeah, I gotta go watch. I really want to watch Shingo and Osprey. I haven't watched that yet, but that's the one.
Shingo and Show is one of my favorite matches of the whole thing. That was like on the first or second day as well. But there was so many great matches, and that was the tricky thing. You're trying to get through it, and you're just like, it's killing you because you're trying to keep up with all. It's that G1 syndrome, which is coming up soon. Oh my gosh, gonna die.
I actually just scored my tickets to New Japan up here in Tacoma. For
the Super J Cup.
Yeah,
that's so awesome, man. I was wanting to ask, were you getting in on that?
Hell yeah, man! And then Defy is also running the next night, and I think they're gonna, of course, mix in some of the New Japan talent. So that should be really interesting.
I heard they're doing pretty well attendance wise on those shows between the Frisco and the Tacoma shows. They're pretty much almost sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was worried about Tacoma because Tacoma was the site of that WWE pay-per-view that no one went to, and they had to tarp off pretty much the entire arena and move people down from their seats to other seats and things like that.
Yeah, I was. I had Without a Cause that night, and Max was awesome, the promoter for Without a Cause. He offered anybody who wanted to skip WWE and come to his shows, if they had tickets for WWE, they could get it for free to his show. That was fucking a ballsy move of him. I thought that was great.
That is great. I'm really happy to see these shows doing well. And then should be a bit of question maybe as to how well they do it in LA down at Long Beach at the Walter Pyramid again. They didn't do a full sellout last time, but I'm hoping that. I mean, the prestige of the Super J Cup. Like, to me, that was some of the first Japanese wrestling I ever watched, man. Like, remember that first Super J Cup with like the amazing matches between like Sasuke, Hayabusa, Liger, Benoit, like, holy shit.
Well, when I heard they were fucking coming up here, one thing alone, and then being part of the J Cup, I'm like, holy shit, this is like a can't miss show as a wrestling fan. Like, how does this happen where this comes literally to the same town I was born in, dude? Like, that's
so lucky.
Insane.
Did you ever entertain the thought of going down to LA for the final?
I honestly did, but at the same time, I'm trying to save my money up to go to one Battle of Los Angeles.
I'm still on the fence on that one too, my friend. Bit of a bit longer jump for me over the pond to get there than yourself, but it's always a great time.
Speaking of that, dude, you and Courtney should just move to the States. We hit up Amazon or Travel TV or something, and have grown men watch this shit, an actual television program where we tour the country, going to wrestling events and then observing the local culture while we're
eating great food.
Eating great food. Grown men watch this shit, the television program. Yeah. That's the dream, Chris.
We can do this worldwide too. It'll be like the like Anthony Bourdain kind of shit. We'll go to like weird places like Peru to watch the Peruvian Cholita wrestling. We'll go to like the Congo to watch Congolese voodoo wrestling. Like, we'll do it all.
Go to China to watch OWE or whatever.
Yeah. All right, if you're listening,
that's the dream, baby.
Amazon or Netflix, just kindly shoot us a...
Talk to Adam. He had a connection with Amazon, right?
Yeah. All right, done. So that's in the works, guys. Just everyone message
tell everyone.
Netflix.
Grown men watch shit the show.
Yeah. If they get like a half dozen emails, if they get a half dozen emails,
that would be the best show, dude. Like, it's an Australian guy and an American guy going to pro wrestling shows and eating food and having a good time. Look, who wouldn't watch that?
Taking on the world.
But I would.
I'd be all about that. Yep.
Taking on the world. We'd have to have a pet chimp.
Pet chimp? Really?
No, it'd probably rip our faces off. Never mind.
I was going to say, when you said that, I just thought back to like the Dragon Gate Dojo pet chimp, and that didn't go too well.
Go on. I was not aware of this. What happened with the Dragon Gate chimp?
It's so depressing. It's the worst thing to end on.
Oh,
apparently they had like a monkey at the dojo was like their mascot type of thing.
Okay.
And they realized, I guess, a bit of a ways in that it's way more difficult to take care of the monkey than they thought it would be. Like, all of the fun and games of deciding your dojo is going to have a monkey, but then all like trying to feed it, and
Yeah.
You know, just monkeys don't enjoy living in a dojo setting. I think
All the
that's the
monkey
biggest
shives
thing.
that might occur.
Yes, and there was all these like accusations of like mistreatment of the monkey and abuse, and
Who's
like
been fucking the monkey?
one of the guys was like got fired from the dojo, who apparently like shot a what are those like air pipe gun things? They like shoot air for
Glow
some sort
dart?
of I don't know, but apparently they like shot air up the monkey's butt or something, and yeah, it's all nasty awfulness. And one guy was fired. Shingo was like suspended for like no pay for like 6 months or something like that. So apparently he didn't actually actively do anything bad to the monkey, him or Seema. It was more the other guy that was let go, but it was a whole shamozzle.
Wow.
Yeah, but
Never mind. Let's get a lemur. We'll get a lemur.
Yeah. I remember when Shingo was announced for Bowler last year, there were some people that were still complaining, oh, they're bringing out the guy that abused that monkey.
Imagine saying like so many different. The monkey abusers here, guys. You fucking smark. Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't stand for monkey abuse, but it's just so funny that somebody would. No,
Yeah.
sir, not the monkey abuser.
Yeah, so we'll probably not get a monkey. We'll find some other animal that can be a mascot that maybe requires less high end maintenance. Maybe like a bird, like
Ooh.
Coco's parrot, like a real smart one, kind of like that. That'd be nice.
No, I think to bring it all together, kookaburra.
Oh.
Don't those things eat meat? That'd be so fucking awesome feeding this fucking bird rats.
Yeah, they're pretty ferocious.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah, man. All right, so many plans, so many plans. Well, I think it's time to wrap this baby up.
All right.
We've really talked about nothing for the last hour and a half, but I'm happy with it.
It was a good catch up.
Yeah, it was a good catch-up episode. It was like a spontaneous thing. I like to think our podcast is kind of like impromptu, spontaneous jazz. You know, we don't necessarily know what we're going to do, but we just make it happen on the fly.
Strangely enough, I have had a saxophone around my neck the entire show. I just couldn't think of a time to bring it in. No, sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
All right. So plugging stuff.
plugs.
Well, I first want to plug my Twitter and Instagram. It's at Jaims Vanderbeek, at JAIMS Vanderbeek. I do shirt designs and stupid jokes. So if you
And
enjoy
you do both
either
of those things so well.
Oh, thank you, sir. Check me out. As far as plugging cool shit, you should check out Good Omens on Amazon. It's a great show about the Antichrist. It's quite entertaining, quite hilarious. So entertaining and so blasphemous that Christian Coalition put together a petition to get Netflix to cancel Good Omens. Stupid people do.
That's when you know you've
network.
reached success. I think that's when you know
But the best part-
you're onto something good.
It's not even on that network. Like they're petitioning Netflix to cancel it, and it's on Amazon.
That's
So
wow.
Amazon offered to cancel Stranger Things in its stead, which is on Netflix. It's
hilarious.
by Amazon.
Hilarious. I'm gonna put my plugs over for @ChrisThings on the Instagram, at Twitter, mainly that Instagram. Check it out. Enjoy the dumb wrestling art. Buy yourself some prints. Find something cool. Message me, and we'll make that shit happen. It's very affordable rates. I do it with free shipping now. Prints for $20 and $30 respectively for A5 or A4 size. Apparently
Shit, I might have to take advantage of that.
That's an Australian sizing standard that I've heard you Americans don't actually know about. Is this true?
What size?
A4 or A5?
No, I'm normally familiar with a dimension by a dimension.
How would you go dimension by dimension? I can't even remember the actual amount of millimeters that is in, a A5 or A4 thing. Like A4 is just like a standard letter. Like if you had a document that came out of an office printer, that's an A4.
Yeah, I'm not sure what size of that would be, but
But what would you call that?
where it's just a regular letter size?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm trying to.
I think it's like
Now,
190 by like 247 or something like that.
yeah,
off
but
the
we're
top of my
talking
head.
about two different fucking. I'm over here and you're doing metric. I'm over here in fucking whatever we call it.
Do you still say inches? You would say inches more than millimeters?
Yeah, we would always say inches on this end.
Oh.
I think it's so funny, like when they tried to introduce the metric system over here, the reason it got so fouled up, instead of trying to just do the metric system, they took all this time to explain the conversion of the R style to your guys'
so
style.
much work.
Yeah, like why would we just get rid of the other one that's based off of measuring people's feet for distance? Like it's so nuts. Like I understand it makes no sense. Like why we do it this way, but hey, we're not changing anytime soon. But yeah, sounds to me like maybe like 11 inches, or no, not even that big. Probably like 9 inches by 6
Because like an
inches
8
or
by
something.
10 is what I would
There you go.
envision, because that's like a wrestling, 8 by 10. So I'm assuming that's kind of like an A5 size, which is like half A4. I don't know.
Well, then Jackson sent his art to me like at 11 by 17, and I can't find a frame that size anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go get this custom framed.
I mean, that's why I go for A4s and A5s, because they're like pretty standard sizes, so it's a bit easier for people to frame them. But
Oh, also, speaking of selling our own shit, I'm gonna start that shirt site pretty soon here.
Let's do
Quick question for you.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of a punny name. I was working with somebody else about setting up a site, but I think they were just going to try to take advantage of me by setting up the site for me and then taking part of the percentage. So I'm doing it all on my own this time.
Woo.
My idea for a shirt name, or a name for the company, was either Shirt Reynolds, based off of Kurt Reynolds, or Burt Reynolds, sorry, or Stone Cold Sleeve Austin.
Ooh.
Sleeve.
Well,
You think
if
that
you
should be the name I say?
off the top of my head, if you are going with the Stone Cold Sleeve Austin, you're really limiting yourself to ever being able to do singlets. So.
Oh, it's just a clothing pun, but yeah, I get you mean.
So on
I
that
think I might
front,
go with
I'm
Stone Cold
leaving
Sleeve
with
Austin.
I'm leaning to the Burt Reynolds pun there,
Shirt
and
Reynolds? Shirt
yeah, Shirt Reynolds. I think there's a lot of opportunity to just do a whole gamut of different like Burt Reynolds wrestler crossover mashup type of things, and that could be like the base right there for like your sort of signature range,
Yeah, and Steve Austin ain't gonna sue me for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Good call. All right. Sorry to interrupt your plugs. What's your cool thing you want to
My
plug, buddy?
cool thing, I don't even know. I think it's relatively new, but Eagles of Death Metal's latest album that they came out.
Oh, fuck yeah, man. I check
It's
that shit out. That's a good call.
incredible. I love the Eagles of Death Metal. I've seen them a couple of times. First time I saw them was in Orange County, and they were like just the highlight of that Beach Goth Festival. And then more recently, I traveled to Sydney specifically to see them. They're always so good. Jesse is just like the ultimate front man. Like
Hell yeah.
people hate him because of like his political stuff, but I just think he's the ultimate dude. Like I love everything about him. But so this album, I originally almost dismissed it. It came up in my title. I do actually pay the money to. Who even runs that title?
That's Jay-Z's.
Is it Jay-Z and Beyonce or something?
Yeah, it's the only place where you can get Jay-Z's music. I went to go get the blackout. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, so I sub to it because I love a lot of the old soul music, and I have a really good catalogue of that, as well as like good amount of rap and weird obscure shit. But I saw it pop up on their Eagles of Death Metal's latest album, and I just thought, oh, this is just like a best of type of thing. And then I looked at it, and I'm like, wait, no, this is actually a new album that they've done that is just covers. So
What?
it's amazing covers as well. Like you got them covering everything from like Wham to like AC/DC, and it is so great. Like I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed this album. I listened to it like it's been a long time since I've listened to an album on repeat like that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't put this over hard enough. You need that in your life. At least give it a spin, give it a listen. Yeah, so much fun.
Oh, that's what I'm listening to tomorrow on the way to work.
Boom. That is it. And, of course, follow the @GrownMenPod for all of your news and updates about this very show. Yeah, and hopefully our next episode will be out on time.
Let's aim even maybe for a week early, just to, tide people over until we for all the shit we didn't do.
Keep you all satiated out there.
Yeah, and maybe keep us in the groove so it doesn't seem so easy to fall off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And as always, thank you to Social Suplex. We much
thanks,
appreciate
guys.
you guys for
Thanks, buddy.
facilitating this magic. It's a good place to keep all of these podcasts together. The home base of socialsuplex.com, a gamut of other shows that are of a very high standard. My personal favorite being Keeping It Strong Style. My boy Josh and other Jeremey, it's a great show. My favorite New Japan podcast going, and I am actually going to be a special guest on the next episode. Oh my!
Oh, fancy.
Yeah, it's a live report from the New Japan Melbourne show. So yeah, that'll be fun. Apparently, I'm going to do a match recommendation and stuff.
A match recommendation.
It's a thing they do.
Oh, so you're going in with a match recommendation?
Yep.
What's your recommendation?
I can't spoil it.
Well, nobody's gonna know. I mean, yeah, you can.
I can?
Yeah, I mean, people are gonna turn to that show, or are they gonna be guaranteed to have listened to this first?
I would hope so. I hope that everyone just listens to both shows every time.
Well, then I'll be waiting with bated breath until next week when you tell me.
You will be, but here's a little teaser. Think OG New Japan from back in the day when it was just hard-nosed, angry men hurting one another in a painful way, more so than the more entertainment-oriented New Japan that we see right now. Think like proper, real New Japan strong style.
Gary Albright folding people?
Gary Albright was never in New Japan, sir.
Oh, that's all Japan. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's been a long night.
Yeah, I think the early 2000s era. A lot of people call it the dark days of New Japan. I call it the best days of New Japan, the days of Inokiism. That's a little teaser right there.
Okay.
Yeah, boom. All right, well, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Courtney, for sticking it through this. Hopefully this has been an easier listen because you haven't had us in your earbuds in like a month. I don't know.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Thanks, team.
And get swifty, ladies and germs.
Everybody knows that the bird is a winner when a bird